Hi guys, I'm going to do a review of Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, if you haven't watched the film, I'll tell you, just do not listen to this video. Go watch a movie, come back and listen to it. If you don't intend to watch it, then I guess you can listen to this. But one of the things I'm going to cover is why this film has been considered very important by some folks and why it is so charged. And some people either hate it or love it. And you've been hearing some of the reviews coming back. And what I've not heard a lot of people say they love it, but I've heard quite a few people say they dislike it. I've heard people say, hey, it's okay, which sounds like empty flattery. But there is something I think wrong with the film, and we'll cover some of that as we go forward. But as I said, there's going to be spoilers. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, I would say, stop right now. Thanks, guys. So an important part of the film was dealing with the death of Chadwick Boseman. Now, Chadwick Boseman, as we know, was the original Black Panther. He did a fantastic job, and I think that he was key to the success of the franchise. With his death, there came a reason that you had to figure out, how do you transition to a new Black Panther? And this was a very troubling thing, but I thought they handled it well. I mean, the first part of the movie was very sad in that they kind of tried to create the story of why he died. They created a story more around a plague, and he died as a result of the plague. And some of it is that he was not proactive with the illness, and that caused him to reach a point of no return, and that's how he died. I don't know. I like that plot. A story is a story. I don't know. I like that plot. It's a bit too close to home to what happened the last 2 years, but directors and the writers chose that plot, and I think that's where this film starts to run that high wire, that political high wire of folks who are on the right side or the left side. And we'll go further into that, but I like how they manage his death. There's a bit of a funeral procession, that part was okay, although I think it lengthened the movie, but I think they handled it quite well. We'll go on to the next section. So as we saw, T'Challa, played by Chadwick Boseman, he died, and now they need a new Black Panther. So that Black Panther turned out to be his sister, Shuri. Now this is challenging, and one of the challenging things with it is, and I'll talk about it later, Letitia Wright, fantastic actor, but in terms of her physicality, she's not very muscular, or not very, big. So therefore, her being the new Black Panther would make her more agile than strong. And this is very important for the film because it's coming from a comic. It's coming from, and a lot of people want to keep things canon. And one of the key things is, it is a situation now where reluctantly, inadvertently, the women have to take the lead. And this is something that happened with She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, and what we are seeing is, and we have to be very transparent with that, is that this brings out the anti-woke crowd. Because the anti-woke crowd don't like to see women superheroes. Now, I don't mind, I don't have an issue with women superheroes, but that is a charged area. Now, that's where commercial success meets up on, I would say, having sensitivities to the movement in time of different ideas. And that's where I think that you have this love it or hate it. That's where it really starts. Next part is, now I think, unnecessary wokeism. And this is where, I would tell anyone, women can perform any job that men can do. I have no issue with that. When you start to talk about calling, white people in the film colonizers, now that's a little issue. And here's the thing. The majority of the people who will watch this film will not be black. I mean, the majority of people will be in North America, Europe, and Canada. And, it may show in Africa, but the majority will be non-black people. When in calling the people who are watching the film, and they will identify them as colonizers, I found a lot of people, and I've heard it online, I've read it in different places, are offended by this. And it's something that, you know, in wokeism, you have to be sensitive to other people's feelings. And sometimes I believe that people take on this victim mentality, that they're victims, so there's no way they can offend an oppressor. But, you know, what I've learned in life is when you're all broke, when you're broke, it doesn't matter what color you are. You are broke. When you are disadvantaged, it doesn't really matter which color you are. You're disadvantaged. And we have to come to that appreciation. And I think that this is a larger issue, that in this film, I would hope that they will tone this type of language down, because it is offensive to some people. And as I said, this is why you'll get a lot of people now hating the film. We'll go on further. Talk a little about the cinematography. The film, the scenery, some of it looks cheap. And it looks more like it was filmed in a park, more than it seemed like you're taking someone into another world. That level of marvelous quality of taking you into a new world, a fantasy, it was a bit lost with the type of scenery that was there. That's something to look at. Some of the costumes, I've heard people use the term Power Ranger. It seemed like a Power Ranger costume. So something to think about. Then the next part is the length of the film. I don't think the film needed to be 2 hours and 41 minutes. I start with a film being 90 minutes, and then, you know, if something is extremely important, then you keep adding 10 minutes increments to make it, you know, into where it needs to go. I did not see this film needing to be 2 hours and 41 minutes. I think they could have reduced some of the dialogue and made this film into a 2-hour film rather than a 2 hour and 41 minute film. You know, now we have to talk about the frailty of the Black Panther. Now, Letitia Wright is a very slight looking woman. She's thin, very thin. I would say that she's probably 100 pounds or 110 pounds. You know, and she may be a little more in weight, but that's how she looks to me. Now, because of that, you know, that power that you expect of the Black Panther is not there. And, you know, they could have still kept it being a woman and beat someone more, I would say, with a physical presence. I think she was too slight. And I thought that because of that, you don't get the feeling that she could knock out anyone or punch anyone or hit anyone. So that took away from that physicality of the Black Panther, which I think is canon. And it's something that people are, you know, the people who love the whole comic setting and all that stuff, you know, is looking for. And so that choice of her as the Black Panther, I think I would not go with her as the Black Panther. That's my thought. One other item is the box office of Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever is not expected to do as well as the original, its predecessor, because of the fact that likely it will be banned in China to be shown in the box office. And this happened to Black Adam, and it also happened to Thor Love and Thunder. There is an LGBTQ relationship going on in the film, and China has blocked those films with any portrayal of that, and that happened with Thor Love and Thunder. And so that's expected. With Black Adam was because of some statements that some of the people involved in the film had made, that China decided to ban the film. So that part will mean that I don't expect it to be as big a success as its predecessor. So we should be prepared for that. Yes, so love this movie or hate this movie, it is an important movie. You know, it's weird when Thor comes out or Endgame or, you know, Infinity Wars come out, there's not this politically charged divide about those films. Black Panther drew that. I saw Captain Marvel drew that, and you saw She-Hulk do that. You know, you have the anti-woke crowd, you have the woke crowd, and you know, these movies become online battlegrounds where people are saying, some are saying positive things and some people are saying negative things. But what's important thing about this film is this is a story that is encouraging other people to write stories. And my hope is that this inspires especially young minority authors and writers to write things like this. I mean, yes, there's great stuff to write, you know, autobiographies and things about struggle, but sometimes going into science fiction, the fantasy realm, we need more writers there, and we can see that something like this, which last time had a box office of over $1 billion, shows you the power of story writing. And that's the importance of this film, the power of story writing, the power of creating films. And this is par excellence, and it's something that I see that can be improved. Years ago, the Batman franchise had a few faux pas in the middle of its series, and you know what, they self-corrected, and now the Batman franchise is better. Batman is one of the few films that the sequels are better than some of the originals, and so I do expect this franchise to grow, but what I hope is that it inspires others to write and create. Thanks, guys.